company as a founder and CEO capacity, and now you're into health tech. So how has this transition happened? We would love to know that. Welcome aboard. Thank you so much for joining this panel today, and would have a lot of questions coming your way when it comes to AI and the use of technology in the health tech domain. Thank you so much for coming on board.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation, Priyank, and thanks so much for the kind words as well. Looking forward to a great panel discussion today.
Perfect. So now, with the introductions over, I want to open the floor and ask the first question to David. So, David, I see from your profile you have been a CEO for almost 25 years for Radlo Foods, which is a pioneer for cage-free hens and coming. You have been an advocate for cage-free hens, and high-quality eggs is what Radlo Foods was specializing into. So can you just answer one small question which everybody of us is completely clueless about? What came first? Was it a chicken or an egg?
Oh, goodness gracious. Which came first, the hen or the egg? That's the big question, okay? I'm not going to embarrass you saying politically appropriate like it was the rooster. So we'll move on that one.
All right. Thank you so much. So Dave, when I go through, thanks for taking this one. I really had no idea how would you take this, but thank you so much for answering that. So when I go through your profile, I understand that you are a 10x entrepreneur. So as a 10x entrepreneur, and currently in the capacity of PE and VC, who's as an operating partner, and you also deal with health tech startups and different minority startups which come your way. Can you share how IP plays a crucial role while you are deciding M&A transaction or coming up with an exit strategy? Because I see you advise more than 10 plus companies on M&A, and you have an expertise towards that. So can you just help me understand and help everybody understand what role does an IP play for a company, or if at all it doesn't play a role? What are your views? An IP backed company versus an IP, a company which is not backed by IP. How would you rate those or evaluate those companies at an M&A level?
Yeah, certainly with IP, if it's handled in the correct way, there's something there, and therefore they usually get a higher multiple on sale because there's something there. There's something that can be transferred. So usually something without IP, it's usually a lower type multiple. Having said all that, based on working, the most important thing is to work with your legal counsel on this, because there are times when you want to come out with something that is a trade secret because you're concerned about showing either your competition or a strategic partner exactly what you're doing, which they could actually steal it or they could get real close. So it's not just a simple strategy on this thing, but it really is a comprehensive strategy of a competitive analysis and also discussion with legal counsel in order to protect the underlying magic and get the most when you exit the company.
Fantastic. Thank you for answering that. So in short, you're saying that when you are exiting a company and you wish to get the most out of it, an IP could be one of your partner, one of your savior, which will help you to get most out of the company, because ultimately that's an asset, and assets have good valuations, which will help you at the exit as well as any M&A kind of deal. Thanks for answering that. My next question goes to Elodie. Elodie, you have been a fantastic researcher throughout your life. You've been a professor as well for a brief stint, and now you're running a company which is backed by AI, which is backed by AR, VR. Can you help me understand how this transition happened? What are you up to? What is the vision of Avatar Medical? We all want to learn more about Avatar Medical and you.
Okay, so maybe I'll start with some words on the journey, because if you Google my name in PubMed or in patent databases, you'll see that I've started as a biochemist and working on analytical technologies, so developing biosensors of different kinds in different type of formats. But what makes me special is that I started my education in math and physics. Okay, I have an engineering degree, which is a kind of general with a specialization in chemistry, and went to biochemistry afterwards. And then I've been working in this, spaces of cross disciplines, where biology will meet art science and informatics and technology, and that's. I had the capacity to do that for my previous education because I have been learning stuff from both worlds, and I've served as a translator between cultures throughout all my career. And so I've kind of specialized in this job of making biologists and doctors talk to engineers toward making something useful. And so having done that in a number of applications in biomedical research, then I also extended a bit the type of technologies I was working on. And at some point, my last job was working at the innovation office of the Institut Pasteur, so of Louis Pasteur, to manage the technology portfolio of the institute. So of course, in this portfolio, there were inventions more like what I did before, like technologies to dose molecules or organoids or microfluidics and so on. But that there was also more software related stuff, image analysis related stuff, microscopy device related stuff. So I kind of expanded also the type of technology I was helping, and try to educate myself in those fields. And one of these projects was the project that led to the creation of Avatar Medical. So it came from a research project led by the laboratory of Jean-Baptiste Masson at Institut Pasteur. And he has worked, in fact, with doctors at the Institut Curie. So indeed, the institute where Marie Curie made the first medical application of radium. So Institut Curie is in France a very renowned hospitals for cancer, and so they have tried to apply these technologies to application for cancer surgery. I'm going to talk more about that. So. But basically, that was one of the projects I was helping to develop. And finally, it was so great that I decided to jump in and participate to the startup creation with them, even if originally speaking, I'm not really a medical image or an image processing person. But this type of questions of what it can be useful for, analyzing what people say, crossing information, all this in the context of creation of IP, specific stuff that you can protect and develop toward a successful company. There's a lot of common to all this process, whatever tech you're working on at the end of the day. So that's my background of getting to this. Maybe I can take 3 more minutes to just pitch you what the company is doing.
Sure, we can have a look at it.
So I would like to show you, in fact, a short video. I hope you will all be capable of seeing it, because what we do is super visual. So in fact, the problem we are trying to solve is that surgeons, when they need to prepare what to do in the operating room, they would like to look at the medical images of their patients, the scanners and the MRIs, to figure out what they're going to find, what they want to do, what strategy they want to operate. But most of the time, the tools that they have to do this are tools that have been designed for radiologists, the one which use the image for diagnostics. But using an image for diagnosis is not the same as for surgery. You're not looking for the same information at all. And especially surgeons have much more a need for a three-dimensional representation of things, while what they will find in their standard tool at the hospital is this. So like a tool to scroll between black and white slices. And then from that, they have to figure out what exactly they're going to find. And we're replacing this experienced by something much more intuitive, which is a 3D reconstruction. And basically here we're looking now at the CT data of a breast tumor. So that's a kind of before after. So that's a reconstruction done with our technology. So, but there is much more than the 3D on the flat screen. You can look at the image in virtual reality, and then you will be in a virtual environment navigated throughout the image with a controller and interacting with that at scale as a real patient. And then what's really important for the surgeon in this context is that they will have a perception of depth and a more intuitive representation of the path they can take, what they're going to find on the way. And so in this case, for instance, of breast tumor, that was the initial use case that was developed with Institut Curie. The big question is, okay, should we go for a full mastectomy or not? Or can we do a partial mastectomy? And this type of question should be answered a lot from the image. And when you see what these surgeons have access to, even in so prestigious institutes, sometimes it's not so great. And we've been demonstrated in a study with them that with our technology, they can go 4 times faster and that they can do less interpretation mistakes, up to 25%, and especially for young doctors. So that's in detail what the technology is doing and what it's being used for.
Fantastic. I mean, you are doing such a great work. Identifying the right spot to do a surgery has always been very critical and crucial for any surgeon. Now, with the help of AR, VR technologies, I mean, virtually, basically, you're 3D modeling the entire organ and are able to provide the depth to the surgeon so that they can perform the surgeries appropriately. This is such a great work, and I'm sure you would already have some of the hospitals or the clinics on board who are using your platform. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. So the company is 3 years old. In the first 2 years, we have intensively demoed and piloted the technologies in several places in France and the US. So maybe the French places will not ring a bell so much, but in the US, we got interest in high places because the technology is kind of unique because it's better than the competition for soft tissues. And so that people at the Cleveland Clinic or at Stanford University got interest into testing the technology for a number of applications. So currently our main applications are in oncology, in orthopedics for procedure which require particular intention for soft tissue, like shoulder or spine surgery, when you really want to know what you're going to do with nerves and not bones only. And the final topic is vascular surgery.
Fantastic.
A lot of different use cases, and the product has been cleared by the FDA this year. So now we're going to go further than this clinical research project we've been doing so far.
Fantastic. Good to hear that. I mean, once you get an FDA approval, it's time to celebrate. No doubt. Fantastic. Now, I have a question for Dr. Aparna. So, Aparna, we have seen the kind of technology which is being used in healthcare or health tech domain overall across the globe, and Elodie has been doing some fantastic work. I want to understand from you, what has been your eureka moment and why you changed the course of your career, right from the researcher to MBA to consulting role, and now again you are back to you rolled up your sleeves and you are into AI and ML stuff. You are doing some speech recognition based software development at your Jatayu Health Technologies. We want to understand what has been your eureka moment and why you are using AI ML such extensively and developing products around it for the healthcare system. Can you please explain us what has been your journey so far?
Yeah, sure, Priyank. So I get this question a lot, and my journey seems to not follow a straight path, and it seems to be all over the place. But to be honest, even when I was doing my PhD in University of Massachusetts, I was studying molecular neuroscience, and I was cutting mouse brains every day and studying how the neurons grow and what happens inside the neurons, etc. But I mean, in my mind, I always wondered like where all this goes. I mean, all the research that gets done, how does it impact society at large? Yes, of course, you can publish some papers and stuff, but at the end, it has to like the bench to bedside has the transition has to happen. So I was always curious about that, and I also did a brief stint at the University of Massachusetts technology patenting office, and to just understand how they go about licensing out technologies, how that entire process works. What goes on behind the scenes of forming a company, and who makes those decisions, what are the factors and criteria that people consider when taking those decisions, whether to license out or license in, etc., or how to do prior art searches, of course, etc. So since that time, I mean, I decided that I wanted to be at the interface of science and business. And when I came back to India post my PhD, I worked in consulting. I was with LEK Consulting, and I was working on some of their projects in healthcare and pharma space, looking at market entry of drug products, looking at market expansion, whether it was India expansion of Fortune 500 companies, or market expansion of Indian companies abroad, vice versa, basically. And I was and what are the factors that play along when you think about expansion or entry or growth, any of these business related decisions that you have to make? What are the factors? What are the criteria? What is considered, etc. So I was evaluating all those on the technical side initially, but I was really curious about the business aspect of it. And so I wanted to fully understand how this happens. So I went on to go, do an MBA from Indian School of Business, and post that I was working in a pharma company. But right then the pandemic hit us. And during the pandemic, as a patient and having seen the healthcare industry up close during my consulting days, I found that there are a lot of gaps that need to be addressed. I mean, for one, of course, there is access, there's lack of access of healthcare all across the globe. There is affordability, and there are all these infrastructure issues. There are all these major issues that are there. But I really, introspected on where is it that I can make a difference. I mean, of course, infrastructure is something that I don't understand very well. So what can I do to contribute and make healthcare more efficient? So one thing that really struck me was the lack of proper documentation and the lack of digitization in healthcare. I mean, if you look at any other sector, whether it's banking, whether it's e-commerce, everything's so digitized. Everything's in your phone, everything's in your pocket. But if you think about health, which is the most important thing for a person, that itself is not digitized, and that leads to a lot of on the ground like issues. I mean, during the pandemic, my family was all scattered all across the country, and my mom's reports were somewhere, my mom was somewhere, her doctor was somewhere else. So we had a hard time coordinating all these things. So I mean, I was really frustrated at that point as a patient. And during my consulting days, I understood like what are the challenges faced by doctors and hospitals. I mean, we say that yes, everybody should digitize, everybody should do everything, right? But of course, everybody wants to. It's not that the doctors don't want to, but they have their own challenges. So somebody has to understand both the sides of the coin and really think of solutions and which can be helpful for both stakeholders and of course the population at large as well. So therefore I was brainstorming and just in general cribbing about it with my co-founders in like a regular get together. And then we thought that we always think that somebody else should do this and somebody else should come up with a solution. And we were like, why not be that someone else? And why not do it ourselves
Fantastic.
and see whether we can make a difference and make an impact? So me and my co-founders, we got together and we formed Jatayu Healthcare Technologies to solve the simple problem. We took a simple problem. We said that we want to make documentation efficient, streamlined for healthcare professionals all across the globe. I mean, there are challenges, different challenges, developing versus developed nations, which we will get into, I'm sure, in more detail. But there are challenges everywhere, and we want to circumvent some of those using our technology. So we are using. So we said that let's not do any typing, let's not do any writing to basically make medical records. We should use speech. Now with the advent of Alexa, Google Speech, everything, speech has become such a common input into computers, which was not the case a few years back. And with that, we were like, let's use speech and see whether we can create medical records using that. And of course, in the developed world, there are some solutions already available. And for the developing world, those solutions were still not at the level that the doctors could use. So we thought of creating some speech-based products to for streamlining the medical records and medical documentation.
Fantastic. This is a great initiative. I mean, of course, in a country like India, but there is so much of diversity in terms of speech itself, speech dialects, and if you want to scale it to a global level, then again there would be challenges. How do you foresee yourself overcoming those challenges when it comes to diversity and including all of those variations in your product? Do you have any plans in that on that line, on that path?
Yeah, so I don't see diversity as a challenge. I in fact see it as an asset for us, because we are using speech, and the diverse accents and dialects that we can get in India. I mean, India has so many languages, right? And hundreds of more dialects. So if we can train and if we can achieve good accuracies of our model, of our AI model in India, I think we can do it anywhere else in the world, which may, I mean, those regions may have fewer languages and fewer dialects compared to India. So we don't see it as a challenge. We see it more as as something that is a blessing in disguise for us. We train in India, we train our models in India, we make our models in India so that they're robust enough to go all across the world. And like they say, I mean, as a joke, like they say, if you have driven in India, if you've driven a car in India, you can drive anywhere else in the world. Similarly, we have trained our model in India with the diverse accents and dialects that we have. So now we are ready to go, and our model is ready to understand any accent that you throw at it.
Very good, fantastic. This is good. I mean, no matter how many different dialects are there, you are taking it as an opportunity and a challenge which you can easily overcome, and successfully have already done that. That's what a true entrepreneur spirit is all about. With that, I want to go to David. So Dave, you have been doing, I mean, wearing multiple hats at different roles throughout your life. I want to understand one thing from you. When I was looking through your profile, none of the two roles which you do one after another are interconnected in any way. How does these all opportunities which are coming from different part of the world, different domain, different technologies, how do all of these land to you? And so what is the secret? I mean, who are these connectors who are helping you to get into different roles, and what keeps you going, Dave? Can you please share that secret with us as well?
Okay, what the secrets of staying ahead of technology and how we've been able to do it through the years. I guess I'm going to say that, yes, we've had good lawyers that's protected our IP. That is correct. But if you take a look at monoclonal antibody test kits that we had with Vicam, that we ended up selling later to Waters Corporation, and in a bunch of partnerships that we had across the world, including a lot of French companies as well. That if you take a look at that, you take a look at the IP with Eggland's Best that we had, both on, yeah, sure, there was cage-free organic, but also on the actual stamping of the eggs, and also the health drivers that were enhancements to it. And you take a look at that. If you take a look at that's how I operated for many years, and then a lot of related ventures into that. You take a look at what I'm doing now in terms of being a private equity and VC operating partner and giving back to ventures at both Tufts and Harvard. And you see that you need to yes, it does. It comes back to being able to afford and be able to get good advice, on principles of cartel disruption. I show this. Here's my ad. Okay. On page 51, there's 25 questions that you should go to your attorney with. It'll save you a ton of money. Okay. And whether or not you're in business and you're starting with an initial value proposition, or if you're in a position that you're incubating and accelerating and you're looking at other ways of improving your product, or for that matter, you came up with additional technologies. There's ways in which you can quickly and succinctly get the things that you need to have done. But I will say this, I'll tell you the greatest lesson in intellectual property that I had was a recent one where I coached someone and they didn't want to spend the money. As I said, they didn't want to give up their Saturday night steak dinner and French wine for a little bit and pay their attorney. What they chose to do instead was they went to a convention and they showed a very large distributor their technology that they had in their product. Within 30 days, that distributor had patent pending on their product. And then all of a sudden, they weren't going to take a ride to the moon and the sun and the stars. The competition in the big distributor and well-capitalized company is. So you have to really be cognizant that you got to be just smart of how you handle, your IP. And really for the general rule is that investors, for the most part, you can sign confidentiality agreements and what have you, and they just want performance. They just want you to succeed, whether you're an angel, VC, or PE. They want you to hit you well. Strategic partners, on the other hand, behind that quiet room over there, when you go to their office, there are 25 people that do nothing but find out and re-engineer products so they can get to the market first. And so you have to be cognizant and you have to be quite thoughtful on how you go to market and really how you can leverage your IP and leverage your product for the greatest success.
Good point, Dave. You touched upon is that, I would love to give a tip to everybody who's watching us. If you're a tech founder and you wish to go to a third-party contractor or even to an investor, please file your patents first before you disclose anything out in the market, because you do not know if your technology is gold, people will just steal it. The example which Dave gave, the patent application was filed by other party in just 30 days and there was a patent pending, and the creator or the inventor who came up with this technology would have no control over it. So in order to protect your own creation, go ahead and file the patent first. Go talk to your lawyers and get the patent done. That's one of the necessary checks which you must do as any tech company. Otherwise, you are just opening your technology to everybody at large and people will just use it for free because nobody has protection over it. Good point, Dave. So Dave, one more question I would have for you, because you touched upon great point about investments, B2P or VC investment. And when I look at your book, and the cartel disruption, you also talked about idea, execution, strategy, team. So which one is the most important component when you look at investing into any startups? Like today we have two companies on the panel itself. One is Jatayu, who's using AI, speech AI, and disrupting the entire healthcare diagnostic or data collection system in the health technologies. Plus at Avatar, we're using AR, VR, and simplifying the way visualizations are to be done in the future ahead. So what exactly do you look for when you are investing? Is it idea? Is it execution? Is it the team? Or is it the founder? Or is the whole platter itself? What do you look for?
You're looking for obviously a great value proposition, regardless of what the market is, and that could be a small, fast growing niche of a very large category. Even when we were doing business in Cuba with Castro and their biotech group, they seemed to always spend a lot of time on that, and that was great. And I want to thank BNP Paribas for helping us finance some of that stuff. But the bottom line is you got to have all 12 principles lined up. You got to have all principles lined up. Your value pitch has to be on there. You have to succinctly and directly being able to communicate. That's why in chapter 2, I put a sick pitch section in there. Okay. You don't want to go on for 42 pages. You don't want to do it. You want to keep it to 18 minutes tops. You want to realize every single utterance that you have, every single syllable is something that you have to work on, and you want to quit early. And then you want to answer and open it up for questions. People don't realize and understand the way you project out. You think you're going to go out and then they're going to learn all your material. The last thing people want is a lecture. What people want to do is they want to take what's succinct and what's direct. If it's not boring, they're going to ignore it. They're going to ignore it. You want to have some succinct stuff. Okay. Then number 3, obviously, with intellectual property, in addition to that, who can actually make the engine great? Okay. You're going to look at that jockey to say, who can make this test markets good? Who can make the people, process, strategy, and the acceleration great? Who can work and leverage a board? Who can sit there and deal with industry and all the cartel stuff? I mean, and who can, in my view, who can give back? So you get the right person that can accelerate all of this, along with the great value proposition, and someone that can pitch great, and you got yourself a winning proposition, because you will raise the money, you will succeed, and you will be able to get it to the next level.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. In a nutshell, you are saying that you must be a great at pitching. You must be thorough in what you have developed, and there should not be even a syllable extra in what you are pitching. Plus, the execution matters, and the team, of course, is a cherry on the top. And if you have everything together, then as a whole, you can get the deals from an investor, because now you're proposing, your value proposition becomes unique to you itself. Thanks for sharing that. I want to move to Elodie, because she comes from very innovative technology. You're using VR to provide biomedical images and a 3D reconstruction of a human organ or the entire body. How difficult has it been to convince doctors or the surgeons to use your product?
Actually, the difficult part is that to convince them, they have to try it. Because we are, in fact, acting in the field of human perceptions. And we've been struggling from day one to really convey this major difference of seeing a 3D image as a projection of a 3D image on a flat screen, because you have 3D reconstruction on your computer screens, you feel like you have something 3D already. And the difference of this experience and this virtual reality experience, immersive at scale with the perception of depth. So even now yourself, you're listening to me, you're just like, yeah, why? I mean, maybe you figure out why, but really until you've experienced it, it's very difficult to understand what's going to make it better. And so we kind of have this skepticism of doctors all the time about what we do. Why is it different from a 3D radiology workstation, etc.? But then they try it. And especially, we let them try it on one image of their difficult patient, one patient for which they screwed up, or one patient for which they thought they would have that in the OR, and then they find out something totally different when they open the patient. And then they realized that there was much more information in the image of the patient than what they accessed in their decision-making process. And that can really change their mind and let them figure out how this is important and how this can make that job better. So for us as a company, the difficulty is not really to convince doctors to use it. It's more to find a way that there's going to be a payer for that in the system. Because if you give it to a doctor that they would have the capacity to use these goggles instead of their flat screen to review the image, they would do it. So the problem is not about converting, because there are enough use cases where there is value for the doctor to do that. But then it's more about finding a way so that people would pay for that additionally to the classical viewer they have, additionally to the costs they have of infrastructure in their OR, because per se, we are not also in the typical medtech model where the technology is clearly and obviously going to generate patient outcomes improvement and be reimbursed, so right. and that's in any case a super long path. So we're kind of now figuring that out by doing partnerships with companies selling devices in the surgery world, and then we kind of come as an add-on to what they're offering to boost the value of their product. And in this type of strategic deals, we then have, from day one, a big impact because they already have a market and a reach and many surgeons working with them. And so we have kind of a distribution channel going together with the deal. And then they have something differentiating from their competition because they have this super great software for planning that goes along with their product. And typically you have to, the world of surgery and of medtech in surgery and instrument in surgery has an interesting history. And it's an industry which is much more fragmented than biotech because there are a number of companies of intermediate size, which are prosperous, are making a few hundred million per year. I've been doing that for 40 years, 50 years, and are still in the landscape. But these companies are more hardware companies by nature, so they don't have these digital twists. And then also to compete with the major super big player, they will need this type of capacities. So we're finding a way to, our business way now through this type of deals with third parties developing hardware for surgery.
All right. So what I understand is the challenge is not in convincing the doctors to use it, but rather to make money out of the thing and how to propose this as a business solution altogether, so that more and more people use it, and the better solution they end up getting because of the fantastic innovation you have done. Excellent. So I also want to understand, Elodie, from you, do you believe that COVID or the pandemic has actually increased the innovation or the rate of innovation in the health tech sector overall? Because before this, we were just having talks of using robots for surgeries or using artificial intelligence for doing some kind of data analysis on the health tech data, but they were not really hands-on platforms or the companies who were coming out with groundbreaking ideas. It was all theoretical. But post-pandemic, we have seen the wave of health tech startups coming across. And this is not just in one country, this is across the globe. The trend has been seen across the globe since COVID. Do you believe, even you guys started up in 2020, do you think COVID or the lockdown paved a way? Yeah. Do you think COVID paved a way to the health tech wave across the globe?
Well, surgery is still going to be an activity which is going to happen on site where the patient is going to be there. But what happened with COVID is, as we could not see each other, all the digital communication, what we are doing now on Zoom, etc., has exploded everywhere. A lot of companies which did not have these digital tools just got digital because of COVID. And in healthcare, it's the same, remote consultation was super scarce before COVID. And right. the tools for this, but also the reimbursement context. So well, I'm curious to know about you guys, but in France, the reimbursement of remote consultation by Social Security happened because of COVID and developed in a number of cases for which it was not happening before. And together with remote consulting, then you needed to share data. You needed to share information in a digital format. You needed to get the vitals of your patient. You needed to get some remote information. You need to be capable of sharing an image. And because then you did not have also the channels and the way to do that, then a complete offer has also developed along these remote connections between doctors and patients. So definitely that for sure that it has an impact. And then as everything is going digital, the data, the health data are going digital, then an entire industry can develop around that. So take our example. So we are using medical images, scanners, MRIs. They come in a digital format, which thanks for us is standard. So if companies now are developing image databases, that's called the PACS, so peer-to-peer archiving and communication system in the cloud. Then for us, imagine also in terms of deployment, what becomes possible. It's much more easy to install a technology in the cloud than having to go on premise each customer. And so we are now also in this move, just moving forward of the technology going more digital in cross medical data, independently of the type of data.
Fantastic. So LOT agrees to the fact that yes, COVID or the pandemic overall has started the flood of health tech innovation coming in, and it has also helped people to do remote consultation and provide solutions in the remote fashion, which was unheard of before. And people were very skeptic about it. So I want to understand from Aparna, because she would have done so many projects in this recent time, in the COVID times, and her entire company is about getting the clinical data stored on a digital platform. Now, how easy it is to convince a doctor to use your platforms in today's time versus 3 years ago before COVID? So what has changed? Are the doctors open to accept AI as a solution? Are they considering AI as a threat or a friend? We want to know from you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a new normal, right? This is, even a panel discussion like this happening entirely on Zoom. I'm not sure about Photon Legal, but like this, so many meetings are happening over Zoom, which used to happen only exclusively in person. So this is the new normal for everybody, and it's the same for doctors and healthcare professionals as well. And there is a sea change with respect to the adoption of technology by doctors. Earlier, there used to be a lot of resistance. I wouldn't say that there is no resistance right now. There is still resistance to any new technology. Change is hard. Change is hard for anybody. If you are doing something one way for maybe 20, 30 years, and somebody comes up with a new way, maybe a better one, but it's still new. It's going to take you some time to adopt it and get used to it. So that path everybody has to travel. I think all companies have to go through that lag phase where there is adoption is slower. But once it is there, once the doctors see it, they try it. In our experience, the doctors who have tried our product, to quote one doctor, he said, "We are using it like hell." I mean, I don't know what I was doing before I had this tool. My work used to be so slow. Now it's happening at lightning fast speeds because I can just dictate my medical records and be done within minutes, within seconds. Earlier, I would type the report or write the report, somebody else types it, and then the typist is going to make 100 mistakes, and then it's going to get corrected. So all that process just leads to a lot of delays for the doctor as well as for the patient. So all that has got eliminated. All that could be eliminated with a product like ours. And with our accuracy in the medical field, you need really high accuracies. Otherwise, it just doesn't work because it's such a sensitive area. So our accuracies are about in the upper 90s now. With all the training that we have done, so that gives the doctors confidence to try it. And once they try it, I totally echo Elodie's statements earlier on doctors hesitating to try it. Once they try, I think they see the benefit and then they adopt. But one thing we also have to understand is that, especially in India, healthcare professionals are overburdened. I mean, they don't have enough time to even do like proper patient care because of the really skewed doctor-patient ratio here. So on top of this, if you ask them to adopt something new or try out something new, it takes away their time. Even if ultimately it ends up saving their time, the learning and the adoption of the new technology is going to take its own time. So that lengthens the process. But in our experience, it's been really great. The doctors who have, we have already piloted it in a few hospitals here in and around Mumbai, and the feedback has been great. Now we have also got some grants from the government of India to do our to build the models, and for that we are going to file. We have filed IP for that. So I think it's a startup's journey is never 0 to 1 in a short span of time, right? So it's going to go from 0 to maybe 0.1 and then 1 and then 100, right? So that's how it is, and we have gone through the same journey. But I'm really optimistic about the adoption of technology by healthcare professionals because it's happening really fast. And we are seeing the change in the attitudes and in the adoption rates as well. Coming to your question of AI, specifically how doctors perceive it, healthcare professionals, there are two sides to it. Some really early adopters have really embraced the technology, and they know about generative AI, they know about ChatGPT, they are very well versed with all the latest technologies, and they are the ones that are going to really adopt it really fast. On the other hand, there are some doctors who have a lot of anxiety about AI replacing them, because slowly they've seen that all the tools, all the technology that comes in, slowly, I mean, the relevance maybe it's to aid them to do their job better. Doctors can never be replaced. Even with AI is always going to be AI artificial. It's never going to be natural, right? So humans always have gonna have relevance, and that's not going to go away. But there is some trepidation and some fear in the minds of healthcare professionals regarding AI and it basically replacing them. As with anything else, I mean, other jobs are also. I mean, there are a lot of a lot of people wondering whether their jobs are going to be replaced by AI, and that's the same with doctors. Of course, it's going to happen at a much. It's not going to happen so fast, and AI is always going to be assistive, not. And it's not going to be replacement. It's not never going to be replacement.
Got it. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing your views on AI and as well as the adoptability of different technologies in the healthcare professional space. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing so much wisdom around health tech and the way the companies are evolving in the health tech spaces itself. David, we just have one more question for you. When you say you do exit coaching, you coach entrepreneurs about their exits. So at what level should an entrepreneur come to you? Should they come at the stage when they are actually conceiving the idea, they are at a good growth rate already, and then they should start exploring exit as an option, or they while they're in the journey and building something scalable, meaningful in the health tech domain, for example, they should continue to have an infinite game or the long-term plan instead of looking for an early exit? how do you do this, and what is it that goes into exit coaching? Because this is something which I don't think so anybody would have ever heard about it. So would love to know from you before we close today's session.
Well, yeah, it's from an experience that I had in a separate business. With all of a sudden, you got a deadlock board, and they're 5 to 5, and 5 people want to sell, and 5 people want to continue on, and then all of a sudden you get this huge lawsuit, right? So the idea is, frankly, from the very beginning, you can always change your plans, right? But from the very beginning, and then going on, you need to just change it up a little bit. Say, realize you're bringing financial people in. Maybe if it's private equity, you really got to plan about 3 to 5 years. Maybe we'll go to 7. Maybe if it's just a venture, we're looking 5 to 10. And you can change the ideas, and then you can also plan to recap. Right. And then therefore, if you recap it, other people come in and other people go out, and then they have values. And it could be a situation on medical products or health products where it's based upon, as it gets closer to like the FDA and in the United States, that the value gets there, and that people really just want to stay in for the whole ride, or people want to get up, and then the value keeps growing. So really the idea is, I always live by the idea is just keep everybody happy, right? So, and part of keeping everybody happy is to have an exit plan. So you're thinking clearly to say how long, under what terms, and it could be a business that maybe the exit plan is a multi-generational thing in a family business. We're going to take it 100 years, like
right.
His family from Portugal, or you get in a situation where people say, I don't want to do this. I just want to make my big hit, and then I want to go to the countryside and fish. Okay. Or, and there's everything in between. And so in order to do this, you really start thinking about, what are your goals? What do you want to do? What are your team's goals? What are the owner's goals? What are your financial partners' goals? So you can really get it on the map. And it doesn't have, I always say this in planning, whether it's strategic planning or whether or not it's exit planning, part of it, it's that you can go as little as 1 page and just take a look at the key, performance indices that you have, or the key goals that you have on 1 page. But at least you have a plan, and then therefore you can refer to it. You can bring people involved in it and what their thoughts are. And therefore you're totally getting to the point where you have something, and it has been talked about. The number of companies and corporations and teams that I've talked to that have nothing at all, and they've raised billions, right? Because they know how to pitch. And I'm shaking my head, right? And saying, what is going to happen here? What's going to happen next?
I totally agree with you.
Fantastic.
If I can comment, and I think, this should come very early in the process, and even maybe before funding your company with your co-founders. If you're not aligned on this, nothing good can happen, So if you're not aligned that this is a company we're going to sell when we are that big to this type of players, versus this is a company we're going to grow to this stage for this long amount of time, then if you do not agree to this large, to this big picture, then you cannot align to execute the right strategy altogether. So I think this is really crucial to align as a team of co-founders on this and on the exit strategy very early on in the process.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also agree 100% to this, because co-founders are basically like partners in the marriage, right? And if you do not have clarity on how long you want to go ahead, what all kind of different experiences you want to have in your entrepreneurial life, what is the goal you are setting for yourself, then there will be clashes, and these clashes will end up in breaking the company, breaking the marriage. So as Elodie and David said, if you have an exit strategy, no matter how small or long is the duration, just map it out. The strategy need not to be mapped out in stone. It can always be changed. It can always be altered based upon the circumstances and the situation and the opportunities. People can come in and go. But if you have a rough plan ready, the sailing would be smooth. It will be a lifelong journey. It could also be generational company which can pass on from one generation to another. It completely depends on your business. But before getting the money in, before getting an outside money in, you must have some plan, some clarity. Otherwise, it's going to create some disruption. Instead of disruption, it's going to create some destruction in the company itself because of the different thinking of different people who are part of the company. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your wisdom, sharing fantastic thoughts about AI, the explosion of innovative technologies post-pandemic, how AR, VR, and AI are helping this health tech professional overall. And especially thank you, David, for answering the tough question across the globe and who came first. Was it an egg or a chicken or an... And thanks for answering that. And of course, providing your nuggets of wisdom when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to investing, when it comes to planning its exit strategy. I'm truly grateful. At Photon Legal, guys, I just want to share that we are helping entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs, in identifying what is IP worthy, and then helping them to leverage their IP to raise funds, to attract market, to get ahead of the competition, to attract great talents who can work with them and create innovation at a larger scale, and ultimately serve the innovation community across the globe. So that's our vision. We want to make India a first world nation by helping its entrepreneurs protect their IP. And we are on a mission to teach and educate 10,000 entrepreneurs about IP. So if you can help us reach out to more and more people so that we can come close to our mission, that will be great. I'm your host, Priyank Khandelwal. Thank you so much for joining in. You guys have been giver and you have shared your knowledge without hesitation. Thank you so much for that. Thanks for joining on today's session. It was a great pleasure hosting all of you.
You did an outstanding job, Priyank.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for the invitation, Priyank. And it was a lot of fun and a lot of wisdom, like you rightly said, from both Dave and Elodie. I learned a lot today.
I enjoyed learning, Elodie, very much about your business. It's really fascinating stuff, really is. And the same thing, you got one heck of a market, Doctor, with your marketing on the digital. So I mean, it's really great to hear this kind of success and where you're headed and the growth that you both have. So in any event, I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Priyank, for having us. I guess I'm gonna keep in touch with Aparna because just as women entrepreneurs, I like to move forward with building this network. But I'm sure we have common questions, and I'm curious about the differences about how some stuff develops in India versus Europe, and especially regarding to clinical data and regulation around that. And so I hope we will move the discussion further. Thank you so much for letting me meet this other panelist and meet you. And thanks for the audience.
My pleasure. Thank you so much. And yes, thank you so much, our audience who have joined us from across the globe. You have been a lovely audience. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.